I am so excited today to be here to introduce Jay Teamer. So Jay Teamer is a PhD in pharmaceutical science at UIC, and he was I think Tuflo is somewhere in here. Yeah, what's up, Tuflo? He was a venture fellow with Tuflo today. So he's gonna come up and talk a little bit today about how online communities are changing the face of biotech investing. Come on up, Jay.
So good evening, everyone. Before I jump into my presentation, I want you to indulge me for a second. I want you to conceptualize everything that you know about VC, whether it comes from years of experience or maybe you're relatively new to the VC field. Now, I want you to think about if we collectively pooled all of that knowledge in this room, and even our extended VC circles, there would still be gaps in that knowledge. One, because it's really hard to keep up with real-time sentiment. And also, as humans, we are typically wired to overlook things that are not obvious. So I want you to hold that throughout my presentation as I introduce you to signals from the crowd, how digital communities are rewiring biotech investing. So first, hey, my name is Jay. I'm a PhD candidate at University of Illinois Chicago studying biomaterials for drug delivery. I'm also a venture fellow through Chicago Blend and Tuflo Ventures. And in 2 weeks, I will be joining Invest Tennessee, which is a government-backed firm in Nashville, as a venture fellow there. And then also, as you saw earlier, I'm going to be a venture fellow at Portal Innovations in the spring, too. So very excited for those opportunities coming up ahead. In addition to that, here in Chicago, I'm one of the founding team members of Nucleate Chicago. And currently, I'm working with Nucleate HQ as a director of program management. So enough about my work stuff. I bet you are probably wondering a few questions, one of which is, one, why did he use this picture to introduce himself? And furthermore, why is he surrounded by so many shoes? So, like a lot of people during the pandemic, I was trying to keep myself sane. So I picked up a few passion projects. And my passion project was curating my shoe collection. But also, like a lot of Gen Z, maybe it was out of boredom, or maybe it was out of a means of trying to connect when physical connection was really difficult. I launched my content creator era. So, no, while I don't make fashion and lifestyle content anymore, a few of my viral posts have taught me a few things. And one is that social media and these digital communities are really powerful. They have a lot of power, and I'm talking about economic power as well as behavioral power. We've all seen it. We've seen people go from being homeless to living in mansions. We've seen small businesses rake in tens and thousands of dollars from a viral TikTok post. We've also seen things like policy changes or business strategies or even elections all being influenced by what's currently trending. So I don't think that it's far-fetched to say that social media and these digital communities also affect VC. I think it's a given. I think the question that we should be asking is how we're adapting and what are the things that we are considering. So that leads me to my thesis, is that VC traditional signals aren't broken. They're just incomplete. I don't think that they need to be replaced. But traditional signals, specifically for biotech, like publications, preclinical data, FDA filings, all of these things are still very important. They help us validate science, assess risk, and also maintain compliancy. But often these signals miss things like cultural movements. It's really difficult for them to capture real-time sentiment, things like grassroots momentum, or really to just get a good snapshot of like what people are currently interested in, what they're obsessing over. And so that's where these social signals come into play. Things like Reddit chatter, or TikTok trends, or Google trend searches. I don't think that these signals are going to replace traditional signals in any means. But I do think that they can be used in tandem to help strengthen our conviction, add another layer of market validation, as well as help us get a better sense of things like demand, timing, and momentum, which we all know can make or break investment deals. So with that being said, I think if you want to maintain and be ahead of the curve, that integrating both traditional signals and social signals is what's going to help you build a future-facing sourcing strategy. But don't just take my word for it. We can look at a few examples. To the left is one that I think that we are all pretty familiar with, which is Ozempic. Between spring of 2022 and summer of 2022, Ozempic mentions on TikTok tripled. And by early 2023, these mentions hit about 600 million views on TikTok, and influencers were coining Ozempic as the miracle weight loss drug. Consequently, this led to an influx of people going into clinics asking for this prescription without actually having the clinical indication. But it also led to real-world things, real-world problems, or solutions. For example, Weight Watchers acquired Sequence, which is a telehealth startup, and that was just for them to be able to access GLP-1 prescribing networks. Also, other big pharma giants like Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly invested billions in order to scale up to meet the demands of Ozempic. On the other side is Oura Rings. Now, this is also something that wasn't an overnight success. Before it caught mainstream success, it was a lot of traction on different Reddit forums and other biohacking community forums where people were logging or sharing their sleep logs and other optimization hacks. This wasn't just buzz. This was real-world validation, and this was product market fit within these digital communities. So Oura went on to raise 100 million Series C with a valuation of 2.55 billion, and then a 5.2 billion internal valuation for their Series D, with selling over 1 million units. So I want you guys to indulge me again in a hypothetical situation. So let's say that Oura Ring came across your desk in 2019, 2020. And you saw that the data was pretty convincing, it looked really good, but you just weren't fully convinced. And so you wanted to assess the consumer pool or what people were actually currently thinking about products like this. So you utilize a tool, powered by AI, of course, that essentially scanned through Reddit metadata and other metadatas from digital communities, and it gave you feedback that there was some good consumer traction. And that was just enough to tip over the scales and have you have full conviction in this. And so you invested. And so 1 year later, you would see almost or up to a 17x paper multiple. And if you continue to stay in, you would potentially see a 30x paper multiple 3 years down the road once they finish their Series D. Now, I haven't personally invested in anything, but these numbers are pretty convincing. But unfortunately, you missed Ozempic and you missed Oura. So what's next? What's trending? Well, currently on TikTok and Reddit, two of the biggest trends are continuous glucose monitoring devices. And these are devices that have been typically used for diabetics, but now they're being used by everyday consumers in order to track their blood glucose levels and optimize their daily performance. Another thing is the adoption of these peptide protocols, like peptides like BCP 157, which is being used from everything from tissue healing and injury healing to longevity. So yes, this data is still being crowdsourced, but I do think that the buzz is real. There are startups that are starting to emerge in some of these areas, and unlike the last wave, this time you have something added to your playbook. You just have to be willing to listen to the crowd. So now, the AI tool that I had actually mentioned earlier wasn't so hypothetical. It's something that I'm currently working on. You can say it's my new passion project, since as a PhD student, I don't make enough money to fund my sneaker collection project anymore. But essentially, I'm creating a tool that utilizes Reddit's metadata in order to help VC and other investors essentially screen through the noise and get some data on some real-time consumer pool. So this is still in progress, but if this does interest you, I do have a wait list that you can sign up for, and you can also connect with me on LinkedIn. Furthermore, I just want to do a special shout out for Joey and Sal at Chicago Blend, as well as Ibrahim at Two Flow Ventures. You guys' patience with me, your advice, your mentorship has been extremely valuable. And then I want to leave you all with a quote, something that my mentor Ross, who's a co-founder of Versant, has been saying to me and kind of helped to inspire this talk, is that good conviction is a pattern recognition before the pattern is obvious. So thank you. I look forward to talking to you all later.